You can see the screen here. This is actually what I'm about to show you. It's BookWidgets. It's a tool that you're going to use inside Google Classroom, and to be able and to make sure it works inside Google Classroom, you have to install a plugin to Chrome. So that's the first step. If after this webinar you decide to use it or to just try it out sometime, that's the first step you'll need to do. That's to add this tool to Chrome, and then you can get started. So, okay, so this is the first thing you need to do, and that is to add this to Chrome. Then you will see the icon of this tool, BookWidgets, added to Chrome. Then I actually go to Google Classroom. So normally you all know this. A lot of you guys just started using Google Classroom. I hope it points itself a little bit so you know the basic steps, like you have courses right here. You just click on a course to add some announcements in the stream, so you can add announcement to your students in the stream, and you can also add classwork. There are the people you have to invite, and we have the marks right here. I'm going to show you how to create an assignment in Google Classroom with BookWidgets. I'm going to show you how your students can make the assignment, how you can grade it, how it gets automatically graded as well. And how you can give feedback. That's an important one. I think this is a strong one, to give feedback from a distance and to collect your student work from a distance. So probably that's the thing you are here for. I go to classwork and I create an assignment. This is a normal way to create an assignment. If the most teachers that give an assignment to their students is via Google Docs, Google Forms, if it's a quiz, and so on. This time I'm going to use BookWidgets. BookWidgets will appear here once you install the plugin, and then you just click on it and you come inside a completely new environment. So if you're just starting out with BookWidgets, this can seem a lot. I'm going to show you some basic steps. It's a really large program. You can do lots of things with it. I think that's going to get clear as well as you follow this webinar. The webinar will take 1 hour. If you have questions, just wait to the finish and then ask them in the chat. Why wait to the end? It's easier for me to just scroll down the questions that are at the end. So otherwise I'll have to look for it too much. This is actually BookWidgets. We have here a board with widgets. Widgets are kind of the interactive exercises I want to make, I have made, and these are here. So these exercises are just visible for the teacher, not yet for the student, because I haven't shared them yet. If you want to work with other teachers, share exercises you created with this platform, you can create some groups, invite other teachers, and then use their exercises. You can also discover groups. We have a lot of groups with already materials that other teachers shared, and those are all digital exercises. So if you're a geography teacher, you can just look for geography, and these are actually groups made by other teachers, and they added their own assignments in their digital assignments. You can ask to join the group and they will allow you or not. We have some examples here. So this is one important tab. If you don't know what you can do with every widget, with every interactive exercise in BookWidgets, you can just go to the examples. A nice example here is the split whiteboard. Just click on the arrow, just choose one, and then you can see the possibilities of every single interactive exercise inside BookWidgets. This interactive exercise, it's actually an empty template of a split whiteboard, and you will have to put in your own content. So in this case, as a teacher, I give my students instructions on one side, and I add a background image on the other side, and I let my students just draw the path, the right path, by reading the instructions. So go straight and take the second road on the right, then turn left, go to the end of the street, go ahead for 3 more blocks, and so on. And they will have to show it. They can send it to you in Google Classroom. You can see, review their work. You can give feedback as you want, and so on. This is an exercise that has content in it. BookWidget does not work like that, but we give examples. So if you want this one and you want to translate it, you can just go to the examples, make a copy in your own account, and use this exercise. But these are examples. We have some tutorials. So if this doesn't make sense at all, or if you're just starting to use BookWidget, I suggest you just go to the tutorials and go through them step by step on how you can make every single exercise in BookWidgets. Then we have the most important step right here. Let's create a new widget. If I click on this one, I'm going to create a new exercise for my students. And I come into the widget library. So this is a library with those interactive exercise templates and these empty templates. So I choose what kind of exercise I want to make for my students. We have some different exercises. So you can see to test and review. The most used exercises in this category are the quiz, the split worksheet, and the worksheet, and the web quest. You use the quiz, the worksheet, and a split worksheet when you want to create an assignment with a lots of different question types. So a test, this can be a test, this can be a formative or a summative test, or just an assignment, some homework, completely digital with a lot of different question types. Of course, this is one I'm going to show you how you can create one like that. First, I want to show you an example of a split worksheet so you know what this is. So we have a split worksheet. On one side, you put a PDF from a text, an article. You can put in an image. You can type some text. You can add a YouTube video or an audio fragment and an audio fragment on one side. Then on the other side, you ask your students questions. So those are a few of the 30 interactive question types you can choose from. And you just ask some questions about the text to your students. The other one that's also a lot used a lot, especially right now when you want to give complete digital lessons to your students, but when you have to give new content, new lesson content to your students from a distance, this format is really nice because you can put together a lot of exercises into one real big lesson. If you wonder how this looks like, I have an example right here. So students go into Google Classroom, they click on your exercise, and then they just start reading, going through the tabs you completely configured right here. So we have an introduction, there's an explainer video you can add, just YouTube or other websites you can embed as well. These tabs you can change by name, you can add tabs, you can delete tabs as well. So this teacher wanted to teach about the area of a rectangle. So we have the definition right here, the formula, an example, and so on. So these exercises that are other BookWidgets exercises you can put in to let them practice your complete digital lesson. And of course, you can take a test or let them or show a quiz as well. So that's the web quest. Games are also nice. There, if you are a middle school teacher, maybe a primary school teacher, these are really fun to use for practicing things, for practicing digitally. So you can just create a crossword in a few minutes, put in some descriptions, put in the words they have to fill in the crossword, and then you are done. Just click on generate, share it with your students, and they have a nice repetition exercise so they can practice your lesson content. Pictures and video, this is used a little bit less. I think it's used more for geography teachers, history teachers, biology teachers, or teachers that want to create visual lessons. One that is used by every teacher in every course is the hotspot image widget. And this is one that looks like this. So this is a teacher that created a lesson about the sustainable development goals, and it's a background image, and you can add some pop-ups on the image. Those pop-ups can be visible, like here. They can also be invisible, so students have to go over, click on the image, and search for a pop-up. Then you can add a pop-up, you can add something in the pop-up. So if I click on this, this teacher added a BookWidgets worksheet to the goal, so students really know what this is about. It's also an automatically graded one. She made it automatically gradable. So students really know what this goal is about. You can also add just text, add images, add videos, YouTube videos, you can add audio fragments, and you can embed completely other websites as well. So then you just assign this image to your students and they go on investigation, and they have to find the pop-ups and solve maybe other widgets in it as well. Then we have some other widgets as well for math teachers, and the planner widget is really handy when you want to create an interactive learning path for your students, so they have to follow step by step every exercise you put in the planner. So I clicked on the green button right here, create a new widget. Now I'm going to click on the widget I want to create. So I'm going to choose the quiz widget. So I click on it and I come into an empty template in which I can just add my questions, and I can add some other features, some other options as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is give this one a name. And cities. And I'm going to start from the upper corner to the bottom. So the first step I encounter is questions. Then I just click on add a questions, and I come into the question library where I can choose what my first question is going to be. Of course, afterwards I can still move the questions around if I want to. So this is actually where I pick a question. We have a lot of questions. So we have the normal questions, like every other testing tool has, multiple choice and so on. We have other questions as well. And the perfect thing about this one is that you can add audio, video, and images to almost every other question in here. So with the fill in the blanks, you can still add an audio, you can add images as well. The drag words in a sentence. This question bank is completely based on teachers that ask about this is something we need to be able to do in BookWidgets. So it's completely teacher oriented, and normally you should find a question you need between all these questions. So we have a question table, we have the annotate picture, a whiteboard question, a photo question. These two questions are very handy right now if you have to teach from a distance and your students have to do an assignment on paper. So let them just take a picture of their work and edit and just upload it into the photo question, and they can send it to you, and you have a view that they did their work. You can really see that they did the work as well. In the whiteboard question, the same thing. Students can upload an image as well, and they can start annotating on their own image they uploaded as well. Word ordering question or sentence ordering question, just a multiple choice with images. No, this is a multiple choice with images. This is a picture ordering question. A multi-select is a multiple choice with more images, possible pictures. Then we have the audio recording question. Also, this one is very important in this time period. If you're a language teacher and you want your students to keep on practicing speech, this is a question that you will need to hear what they have to say, or what how they are practicing their speech. So you can just ask them to record a phone call message in a certain language, and then they have to speak like the phone call dialogue into the audio record button, and then they can send it your way, and you can listen to it, you can grade it, you can give feedback as well. We have matching questions, so words with text with images, and audio with text, and audio with images, and images with each other. Just to make students combine things, to let them link words or sentences or images or audio fragments. We have a text and drop question, so you put ready on top of them a lot of different words, and they have to swipe them into the right boxes. So they kind of have to organize them into the right boxes. The same with images. And then we have the group items question. So if you want your students to link more than just 2 things, like in these questions, you can use the group items question. So you can put in some groups of things that belong together, like here. So this is an exercise I made about fruits. So let's say we have to connect them. So it's French and English. And you can, in BookWidgets, as a teacher, you can immediately speak into the audio feature. So you can just record your voice without using any other app. So let's see. Une banane. Une banane. That's here. And so on. This question also has an automatically graded option. So if I send in my answers, I can see what I got right or wrong. Of course, I didn't group anything completely. That's also something nice to know. These are 30 different question types, and 25 of these question types can be automatically graded. With the other 5 question types, like an audio recording question or a photo question, you can enter a rationale, an explanation that your students will see. You can add a photo, some kind of photo you're expecting, and you can give feedback in the explanation. So students can compare their own answer with your explanation. So they kind of know the correct answer as well, only it's not automatically graded. So if you're going to give points on it, this is one you will have to grade yourself afterwards, but that's still possible. I have a lot of other messages coming in, I see. Okay. So if I want to add a question, I just pick the question I want to create. This is an annotate picture question. I'm going to read from the top to the bottom, and everything I encounter, I can click on. I try to see if I can add some things. So this is the first thing I have to do. What's the capital city? That's my question. Then I want to add a background image. of a blank map of Europe. So my student, and add some fields that my students have to indicate the capital city on the image. I'm going to choose this image from my computer. I can also import an image from Google Drive, and I can find images online. The online images are connected to the Pixabay image library. So you can find images that are copyright free right there. So I saved one on my computer. Let's see where exactly. This is the one. Okay. So this is the blank map of Europe. I'm going to use it as a background image. And then I'm going to put in some fields. So my students, what is the capital city? So they have to know what country I'm indicating. So let's start with Belgium. So the capital city is Brussels. I'm going to put in the correct answer right here. So this question can get automatically graded as well. I'm going to choose a position by clicking on the image. So that's Belgium in Europe, the little one, done. I'm going to add another field, Rome. You notice that the field of Belgium is gone, but that's not bad. It will overlap them eventually. And just another image, another field, Paris. You can add as many fields as you want. Just keep in mind where you've put the other fields so they don't override each other. Done. So this question is actually done. I can go back to the question right here. What's the capital city? I have my background image. I have my fields. And beneath every question, I can choose some options. So the most important one here are the scoring options if I want to grade this test. So if it's a test that's automatically graded or an assignment on which they get grades, then I have to add a scoring weight to my question. So this means that it's a multiplier. So I have 3 fields. So 1 multiplies by 3 is 3. So this question will get a score of 3 points. Here are some extra other options. You have the audio option. So if you have dyslexic students or just want to add some audio fragments, you can just click on audio. Other question types will have the option to add some images or videos as well. Here's the rationale. So here you can add an explanation for your students to see when it's automatically graded. They will get this as feedback as well. So this is really nice. If you have open questions that are not automatically graded, you can still give them an explanation of your intention of what answer you expected. My first question is done. I can go back to questions, but of course I want to see how this looks like for my students. So I can click on preview anytime I want in this quiz. If I click on preview, I'm going to see like a student. So this is what my student will see. So we have the question. I see my language, I have to change it. This is a question. This is how it looks like. So students can just type in their answers right here. I click on back, then I'm going to add another question. This can be the question table question, and I want my students to what specialties belong to what countries. So every country in Europe has its own specialty, and I want my students to indicate the right country. I'm going to add some columns. So these are the countries: Spain, Italy, France, Belgium. Like this. And these are the rows. So here I'm going to add my specialties. let's say pasta, paella, cheese, chocolate, French fries, and pizza. And of course, if I want this question to be automatically graded, I have to put in the right answers behind it. The computer will not show this to students, but behind the configuration, it knows that if students indicate another country, that it will be corrected wrong. So let's see, we have Italy. We have Spain. So I'm going to add the exact same thing I wrote here behind it, so the computer will know what the correct answer is. France, Belgium, Belgium. So it's called French fries, but it's actually from Belgium. And we have Italy. Okay. I want to check out how this looks like. So I can go see my scoring options. So it's a multiplier. I don't know how many rows I have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this will go on 6 points. I can go to preview and I can see how this question looks like. So this is it. So students will have to like indicate the right country. Okay, back. Then when I'm done with all my questions, I'm not going to just add more questions because that will take lots of time. When I'm done with my question, I go one tab below and I have to choose if my students will be able to submit their answers or not. I'm going to enable this. Why would you disable it if you're just giving your students an assignment that it's a formative assignment, so they have to practice some things and it's completely automatically graded, or you put in a rationale as an explanation so students know what kind of answers you expected? Then you could say, okay, my students, I don't need to correct their work. I don't need the grades. I just want them to see the correction themselves immediately. Of course, now I want to see how this looks like, and I want to show you guys also, if you enable this, where you can see everything. Then we go one below, general options. There are a lot of different options right here as well. As I've said, BookWidget is a large thing, and this is just a quiz widget. But I'm going to go over the most important option, and that's the correction options. So show correct answers when quiz is done is automatically enabled. That means that if my students submitted their work, they will immediately see the correct answers. If it's a test, I don't want my students to see the correct answers as well right now, right away. If it's a formative assignment, I can just leave this on, leave this enabled, and then I can, my students immediately get feedback if they are right, what they have right and what they have wrong, and what it should be instead. There are other options as well. So if you test this, just go through them and see what the possibilities are. I thought this was still in Dutch. Let's put it in English. That's just the language of the dialogue buttons inside your quiz. So if you live in India, you could change the dialogue buttons to your language by creating a new translation from the dialogue buttons. Standard, we have some built-in languages. These are kind of more Europe languages, and we know that's just a limitation. But of course, if your students can speak English, it wouldn't hurt. It's not that the complete quiz is in English, because you put in your questions and your configuration in your own language. So we have the question, title reporting general options. Now we just click on share because our quiz is done. I need to pick a course, geography of course, and then I send it to Google Classroom. I can also send it as a draft. If I save it to the draft to Google Classroom, I can pick in Google Classroom other students, so I can just pick some students to send it to. So then it would not be for the complete course, but this time I want all my students in this course to get the exercise. So send it to Google. Okay, then I go out of BookWidgets, I can click on the X, and if I update my Google Classroom stream, my BookWidgets exercise will appear here right away in Google Classroom. I can see I have assigned it to 3 students, but no one has handed it in yet. Of course, that's because I just sent it to the Google Classroom. Then, now I'm logged in as a student. So I can go to my course as a student. I can see an assignment coming up in my stream, just how Google Classroom works. And then I can also just go to classwork to see real assignments that have due dates or no due dates. Then I can click on it and I can click on the link to make the assignments. This is just because I'm working with 2 different accounts. Of course, your students will not have to log in a second time. We can just get started. Brussels. Let's make a mistake and a typing mistake. And then here, let's see, pasta, paella, cheese, chocolates. Yeah, this will make a mistake. And then we have pizza like this. Then you can see that the student is logged in. So that's because she's logged into Google Classroom and this complete exercise is connected to Google Classroom. Then she can click on the arrow, she can click on submit and just send the answers. That's it. Okay, so this is the correction option that I did enable. I didn't disable it. So this is what my students get immediately. Of course, if it's a test, this is something I don't want my students to see because maybe I could give her a point for this one because it's just a writing mistake. This is how it looks like for the student as well. So if she immediately gets the right answers, this is how it looks like. Of course, I don't want that. I want to see her work myself and give feedback first before actually she got the right answers. Now, I can see I'm back in my teacher Google Classroom, so I'm back as a teacher, and I can see that one student has handed it in. Of course, that's the student that I was playing. I can go, so I'm in classwork, I actually stand on this exercise, and then I can click on view assignment, or I can click on handed in. It diverts you to the same screen. You can see that this is already automatically graded because it's an automatically graded test. If I would return it right away, I wouldn't be the best teacher because I really want to see what my student did as well. So I can click on the student to see her work. I go straight to the work. And this is kind of the grading dashboard from BookWidgets. So I can see here the points, what did she do right, what did she answer wrong. And this is kind of an interactive PDF I can still make changes to. So let's say I'm a geography teacher and I know that this student has lots of problems and is very dyslexic. I can choose to give her a point for this. So I can still override the grades, 2 out of 3, and I can enter a comment below every single question in my test or in my assignments. Mind your spelling, and then here, yeah, that's okay. It's voila. Okay. The grades are also, so it was first a 6 out of 9, now it's 7 out of 9. I can just go back to Google Classroom and it will be updated as well, but I want to show you some more possibilities here. If you have other students that submitted their work, you will see a black arrow right here, and you can just click on the arrow, change your grades or give some feedback, and go to the next student. It will always save into Google Classroom automatically, so you don't have to click on anything other as well. There's also a different way to grade student work, and that's question by question. So if I click on the X right here, I come into the BookWidgets grading dashboard, and I can choose to grade question by question by clicking on the questions in my worksheet, in my BookWidgets exercise. So I added these 2 questions, and I can just click on them, and every work of my student will show below that question the answers on that single question. I can jump to the next question right here, and then all my students will be able to, I can see my students here. Of course, it's the same way. You can change the grades and you can change a comment. You just click on the X and it will update into Google Classroom. A handy score right here is the average score. So if I have 20 students that are here, and if the average score of those 20 students would be like 30%, then I would know that this is a question I should explain again. So if you're teaching digitally, you get immediately feedback, and you know immediately if your students understood your question, if it's just that one student, or if it's another student, or if it's the entire class, I mean. I just go back to Google Classroom. I graded the work. Here you can see that I changed the grade in the worksheet by clicking here. It automatically saved right here, and I can click on the student and I can return her work. Then I go back to the students. She sees that it's graded. She can click on View Assignments. That's the assignment that she made. If she clicks here, she will be able to see what she made. So she's just inside the assignment again. If she wants to see the feedback of the teacher, she has to click here. So your work, she can click here. I'm still logged in as a teacher, so let's change this. So, and then if she clicks on your work, then she can see her work. So this is what the teacher said. So this is the points she got, and the feedback as well. So the French fries and so on got you there. The feedback from the teacher is here as well. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you. There's one more thing before I can get to the questions, and that is live widgets. So there's a possibility that if you are teaching your students live, face-to-face with Google Classroom, with Hangouts. So Hangouts, you can use Hangouts Meet to just teach live. Then you can follow up on your students, what they are doing in a BookWidgets exercise in Google Classroom right at that moment. You can do this by clicking on the BookWidgets plugin and then go to Live Widgets. If you said, so you're teaching, like I'm teaching you guys right now in Zoom, I can say, guys, go to Google Classroom and click on that assignment. Let's see. and then click on that assignment. Once they do, I can see here all my assignments, so the assignment they are working on right at that moment. I can see it appear live. I can click on it and I will see all my students coming in that are opening or starting this exercise. There's a kind of a problem here. These exercise. So I can see all my students coming in here and I will see this change. So this is already done. So it was 7 minutes ago, the last activity. This is a progress bar. So this will go green if my students are done. So I get an overview of students that did the work really fast or students that are stuck. If the student has only red fields here, then I know this is a student I maybe need some need to explain something again to. You can blur students as well if you want to pick out the work. So you can see some overview, but you can also pick out a student and see what she's doing exactly at that moment. So if I would share this exercise with you guys, I would be able to see what you are filling out at that moment. So I would be able to see her type Rome with 2 O's, for example. And then question by question, a question appears, so I can see what she has done already or not. Of course, I can show this to my students as well, like I'm showing you guys now. So if I'm Skyping with my students or I'm teaching live with my students, I can pick out a student that has done really bad or really good, blur the name, so my students will not see who this is, and I can ask my students to give feedback on this work. So I can say, hey guys, what do you see? What isn't wrong? What is wrong here? And they can help that student out so the student can change it. This is possible with lots of widgets. We also have a whiteboard widget. So I could ask a student to draw something about the lesson in a whiteboard, and students have to just see the image appear, what the student is drawing, and they have to guess what this is about, what this connection with the lesson is, and so on and so on. This is something you should try out, live widgets, especially now from when you're teaching from distance as well. Okay, goodbye everyone. Thanks for joining.